All right, let's talk about the German workplace. Ever tried to get your head around all the different job titles? There are so many words for worker, and honestly, the differences can feel tiny. But getting them right? Yeah, that's absolutely crucial. So you've probably seen these words floating around. Angestellte, Arbeitnehmer, Mitarbeiter. They all kind of seem to mean employee, don't they? Well, not exactly. And, using the wrong one at the wrong time can lead to some, well, pretty awkward moments. So let's just dive in and get this all cleared up, once and for all. Here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll cover the basic, all-purpose words for an employee. Then, and this is the big one, we'll tackle the difference between a colleague and staff. After that, we'll peek at a few specialized roles, and finally, we'll sort out all the different ways to say boss.
Okay, let's start by building a solid foundation. We'll begin with the most common, broad terms you'll hear for anyone who has a job.
First up is Angestellte. This is pretty much your go-to everyday word for a salaried employee. If you have a contract and get a regular paycheck every month, you are an Angestellte. So you might say something like, Sie ist Angestellte bei der Sparkasse. She's an employee at the bank. It's basically the direct opposite of being self-employed. Okay, now let's get a little more formal. Think of the whole employment thing as two sides of a legal contract. On one side, you've got the Arbeitnehmer, which literally means the work taker. That's the employee. On the other side, you've got the Arbeitgeber, the work giver. That's the company. These are the official terms you'll see in contracts and legal documents, not really in casual conversation.
And that brings us to a really crucial point. While you are technically an Arbeitnehmer, you would never introduce yourself that way. You'd say, Ich bin Angestellte bei BMW. If you said you were an Arbeitnehmer, it would just sound weird, really formal, like you were reading your employment contract out loud.
And just to round out our general terms, there's this word, Beschäftigte. This one's super broad, and you'll almost always see it in the plural, die Beschäftigten, which just means the employed. Think of it as a term you'd hear in a news report or in some economic statistics, like the number of Beschäftigten went up last quarter. You're not going to use it much in daily chit-chat. All right, we've laid the groundwork. Now for the really juicy part. Seriously, this next section covers the single most important distinction. If you get this one wrong, you could find yourself in a seriously cringy spot at the office. First, the easy one, Kollege, or for a woman, Kollegin. This is your colleague, your peer, your work buddy. It's anyone at your level in the company. Super simple. You could say, I have a meeting with my Kollegin tomorrow morning. No problem. Okay, so that brings us to the word that trips everyone up, Mitarbeiter. It translates as coworker, so you'd think it's just another way to say Kollege, right? Just a simple synonym? Nope, not at all. And this is the absolute key to understanding it. It's all about perspective. Mitarbeiter is the word a boss uses to talk about their team. It refers to the people who work for them, the people who are below them on the organizational chart. So you can imagine the potential for a major social blunder here, right? If you send an email to your teammates and start it with Dear Mitarbeiterinnen und Mitarbeiter, you've pretty much just accidentally declared that you're their new boss. They might be thinking, wait, when did you get promoted? It's a classic, embarrassing mistake you definitely want to avoid. But, and this is what makes it so darn confusing, there's an exception. In a really general, impersonal context, Mitarbeiter can just mean employees or staff. Like a company's website might say, the company has 30 Mitarbeiter. In that case, it just means they have a workforce of 30. It's this dual meaning that gets everybody. Okay, phew. Now that we've navigated that little minefield, let's zoom out a bit and look at a few other terms for more specialized kinds of workers you might come across. So let's talk about the word Arbeiter. It literally translates to worker, but it has a very specific traditional feeling to it. It usually implies physical or manual labor. This is the word you'd use for someone on a construction site or in a factory. And you'll see it all the time as part of a longer word, which makes it super specific, like Bauarbeiter for a construction worker. But check this out. Here's a fantastic little exception to the rule. A Sozialarbeiter is a social worker. Definitely not a physical labor job, but it still uses that classic term. Next up is a very unique German category, the Beamte, or civil servant. These are people who work directly for the state. We're talking police officers, government workers, even some teachers. And the status comes with some incredible job security.
A Beamter basically has a job for life.
Now, if you just need a huge catch-all term for anyone who has a job, Berufstätige is what you're looking for. It just means someone who is professionally active. Could be an Angestellte, a Beamter, or even someone who's self-employed. It's a very general label.
We've covered employees from pretty much every angle. So for our final section, let's climb up the corporate ladder and take a look at the different words for the people calling the shots. This chart lays it out perfectly. Right at the very top, you've got the Geschäftsführer. This is the formal, official title for a CEO or a managing director. Then, for your direct supervisor, the person who actually gives you your tasks, the neutral term is Vorgesetzter. But let's be real. What do you say in a normal conversation? You just call him your chef. Simple as that. And of course, in bigger companies, you'll also hear more specific titles like these. An Abteilungsleiter is a department head, and a team leader is a team lead. These really just clarify exactly who's in charge of which specific group. So there you have it, from the general Angestellte to the tricky Mitarbeiter, all the way up to the Geschäftsführer. You know, understanding these words is so much more than just a vocabulary lesson. It's about really getting the nuances and the culture of the German workplace. So, as we wrap up, I'll just leave you with this question to chew on. Now that you know the difference, which of these words will you use tomorrow?